Let's turn over to the Epstein story. We've got a couple of new updates here. We have Trump reiterating the Epstein files. It's a Democratic hoax and it's total bullshit. Let's take a listen.
The two Kevins, very good.
Mr. President, is Vice President Vance hosting a gathering this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
Is he working on what?
Is he hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here.
I saw a report today, and it's completely fake news. We're not meeting to talk about the Epstein situation, and I think the reporter who reported it needs to get better sources.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats because we've had the most successful 6 months in the history of our country. And that's just a way of trying to divert attention to something that's total bullshit.
Total bullshit. That's his line. The Epstein files trying to divert attention. Apparently that's the media and not the actions of the Trump administration. Okay. That was also, by the way, J.D. Vance was responding to a story, which we'll return to in a little bit, where there was some story reported by CNN that they were going to convene some grand Epstein meeting of the principals to figure out how they were going to handle it. But we couldn't help but flag this from the Times of Israel. Our friend Glenn Greenwald was able to find it. Let's go and put this up there on the screen, shall we? So here we have a rabbi. He's a blogger for the Times of Israel. Yosef how would you say that? Yanowski? All right, we'll go with that.
We'll go with that.
Trump and his administration criticized Netanyahu and Israel, he writes. Quote, and now the Epstein files are haunting him. For a long time, the files had subsidized in the background, but they were considered to be a much more threat to Trump. All of a sudden, right after he started up with Israel, the files surfaced, and they seemed to be overwhelming him, he writes. He continues, now some old files are threatening him. Perhaps Trump will realize that it really doesn't pay to start up with Israel, because when by divine providence, things that were hidden become revealed, it enables people to correct their mistakes and to endeavor to live their lives properly, the way God, with a dash, wants them to. Okay, all right, let's listen. I mean, I sometimes appreciate when people say things out loud, but
incredible.
I mean, all right, let's give the caveat. It's a blogger in the Times of Israel. I will say I think it's crazy that they even publish it, just to be fair. Like, even to make that sort of accusation. What does he know? Well, it fits with a broader pattern of evidence. I know Ryan and Emily covered the photos from the Epstein story from the New York Times a couple of days ago, but there were some specific Israel connections in there that I think are very important. Let's go ahead and put this next one, please. So this is from Ehud Barak, former Prime Minister of Israel. I've talked a lot about his relationship there with Epstein. Flew on the jet a number of times, stayed at Epstein's residence. Whenever he was photographed going into the Epstein residence, tried to cover up his face, received millions of dollars from Epstein via the Wexner Foundation, as well as an investment into his defense startup company in 2015. Well, apparently Ghislaine, or whatever, Epstein's staff, always would compile these birthday messages to Jeffrey Epstein. So here, 2016, so, you know, years after Epstein is a registered sex offender, here's what Ehud Barak writes in his birthday message to Epstein. Quote, there is no limit to your curiosity. You are like a closed book to many of them, but you know everything about everyone. I would also be remiss if I didn't read this one from Mortimer Zuckerman, one of the most powerful, media figures. Who said, quote, suggested ingredients for a meal that would reflect the culture of the mansion, a simple salad and whatever else would enhance Jeffrey's sexual performance. Next, apparently, let's go to the next one, please, B3. Well, Epstein apparently had a preserved map of Israel signed by Barak in his New York mansion. As I say here, apparently there was also a signed bill from Bill Gates. There were literally visible cameras in the bedroom, a first edition copy of Lolita, which has got to be one of the creepiest things I've ever read. Oh. And then photos with some of the richest and most powerful people. I would be also remiss if I didn't flag. There were a number of Israel firsters who were very mad at me for flagging the fact that he had a map of Israel. And they were like, why didn't you talk about his pictures with MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, or one of the powerful sheikhs in the UAE? And I'm like, that's not the own that you think it is, because what it does is confirm the arms deal connections that I've talked about now and why it makes him a Mossad asset. Well, so you're actually proving my point. The fact that he had high-level connections to the Saudis Saudis proves my point that he was connected to Adnan Khashoggi, and that verifies that he was somebody who was dealing in shadowy arms trafficking networks and probably was involved in things like, or at very least, like tangentially knew the principal actors involved in Iran-Contra and in funneling weapons between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Oh, sorry. That's right. So not the own that you think it is.
Not to mention, like, these people never go and check and see if you've criticized Saudi or like,
yeah, that's right.
As if we don't criticize Saudi Arabia here, as if you haven't criticized like Qatar and UAE. Like, go look at our coverage and be relieved that don't worry, it's not only the Israelis that we criticize.
Yeah.
But Saagar, don't worry. We can put the next piece up on the screen because Ghislaine Maxwell, in her Queen for a Day limited immunity meeting, she says Trump did nothing wrong.
Oh, okay.
And she is a very trustworthy source, and I'm sure not at all just telling the Trump administration what they want to hear so that she can get her, her move over to the Club Fed in Texas and potential pardon down the road. I'm sure that's not what's going on here at all. I mean, it's just insane that they actually think, well, I shouldn't say that because you know what? A lot of Trump's biggest supporters will actually believe it.
Oh, yeah, they will.
They will actually take this as a, look, see, Ghislaine said it's fine. They're reportedly considering releasing the transcripts from the interview so that they can try to exonerate Trump.
I mean, I would be for it no matter what. I still think we need transparency in the case, but this is not, I've said it before, this is why you need a special prosecutor behind the deal so that there's no obvious political influence on what she is or is not saying. It may be true, but why would anyone actually trust what she has to say when she's genuinely gambling for a pardon and is already receiving special treatment? By the way, do you know what the current strategy apparently is for how to launder all of this? It's not to actually release the Epstein files. It's this. Let's go and put this next one. I love this. Senior Trump administration officials, quote, are reportedly looking at using Joe Rogan to help tackle the lingering fallout from the Epstein crisis. So they noticed that Joe said that the Epstein stuff was, quote, a line in the sand in terms of the way that they were in terms of the way that it was all being handled and covered up by the Trump administration. So their theory is to send the deputy attorney general on the show to go and basically talk about all of the handling. They would rather do that than release any of the Epstein files. Now, I actually am not so sure that Joe would even have them on at this point without the release of the files because the Kash Patel thing was such a disaster.
Yeah.
And he was like, I knew it was bullshit at the time. I didn't even really know what to say. And he's like, and the way that it's all handled afterwards, he's like, this is just the most insane shit that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So maybe in some ways, here, let's agree to this. Todd Blanche can go on. Bring on Dave Smith or somebody else.
Yeah.
Bring me a copies of anybody, all right? Have somebody else on who knows something about the case.
Yeah.
Let them sit across and be like, okay, let's talk. Let's go.
Because as Kash was spinning his bullshit, I mean, it became an infamous moment.
It's crazy.
No doubt.
Insane.
And you could tell that Rogan was like, really?
Was like, wait, what?
But then after the fact, he made this comment, Rogan made this comment that was like, what was I supposed to do? Push back? And it's like, well, yeah, you could do that. You could do that when he's sitting there.
He probably it is such in the weeds that if you don't know, it's very easy to be bullshitted. And I mean this too from the FBI case and from the way the FBI handles it. And I've done this before, going back and forth with the people who are skeptics or others. In general, they just don't know what they're talking about.
I mean,
I'm not defending. I think you should have pushed back. I agree with you.
Rogan has covered this. Like, it's not like it's some side issue that he hasn't thought about before.
Totally.
He does know a lot of details with regard to this. So in any case, I don't know even if they have Todd Blanche on with him.
Yes.
And even if he doesn't bring in someone for backup, which I don't think they would agree to anyway, but even if he doesn't do that, like, I still don't know that would go well for the Trump administration at this point because like, you've blown it. It's over. No one's going to trust you on this. It's done. People believe, rightfully so, that there's a cover-up. I mean, we know the reporting. His name was in the files. His name was flagged in the files. His name was redacted from the files. Like, we know it was there. And know, like, oh, well, Ghislaine Maxwell says that he's all clear, is going to assuage those concerns at this point. Like, basically the ship has sailed, and probably politically their best move is to just try to stop talking about it and try to change the subject.
Oh, absolutely. And then they already apparently believe that it's it's quote dying down. I would not. This is where I really believe Republicans have a Twitter problem, because it used to be the left had a Twitter problem, right? It was the echo chamber, and people thought that was representative. I now think the opposite, where people spend way too much time on Twitter, which is, I mean, the algorithm algorithm and everything, MAGA, etc., obviously dominates on the platform. It's like, spend some time on some of the other social media platforms, all right? Go type in Epstein on YouTube, which is way bigger than Twitter and used by billions of people. I can even show I look at our demographics. A lot of the people who watch those videos, they're not foreigners, they're Americans. So I know that they're citizens at the very least. And guess what? There's a lot of interest in the story. Not from me, not just from us, all over the internet, from Alex Jones to CoffeeZilla to anybody else. I mean, my episode with Tucker Carlson, the only person who's beat me recently is Candace, apparently. So, can't compete with Brigitte.
You got to do a transvestigation.
Yeah, I got to do a transvestigation. Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you look at the number of views and other things for people who are informed and are skeptical on the case, I'm talking literally millions, tens of millions, if you count up just over the last couple of weeks. They recognize that in the election as supposedly, powerful and all of that. But now, they think it's dying down because their MAGA activists or whatever on Twitter aren't talking about it. Listen, guys, that is not even one, iota representative of reality.
I don't know if they even really believe that either, though, because, to me, the fact, I know you and Ryan did a great job covering, like, the gerrymandering story.
Yeah.
That represents a freak out.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, shit, we're going to lose.
We're going to lose, yeah.
And the Democrats are going to have some subpoena power, and we could be hosed.
Yep.
Like, this could be actually bad for us, because I don't think Trump, really cares about Republican control outside of how it, directly, personally impacts him. But with this story, and with Democrats like Ro Khanna and others smelling blood in the water, yeah, this could be a real problem for him. So to me, that was them pulling the fire alarm of oh shit,
yes.
How can we rig this election so that we don't end up with a large Democratic majority that can basically do whatever they want, in terms of subpoena power investigations, et cetera, after the midterms. So I think they, on some level, do recognize that they're in big trouble with this. And then the other thing it assumes is that there are no more revelations, which is a big assumption because the media also smells blood in the water. And, you may have whistleblowers inside of the federal government who are not too happy about the cover-up that's being effectuated. You never know what's going to come out of the woodwork. So if you're assuming there are going to be no more revelations and we've got this under control, and then the other big question is, what do they ultimately do with Ghislaine? Because if they give her a pardon, that is so disgusting. I just can't even, it's so disgusting. This is a horrific person. The fact even that she got this move to Club Fed in Texas is disgusting. And apparently, we can put B6 up on the screen here. NBC News saw some message from an ex-BOP official who said that this move to this cushy prison camp is a, quote, travesty of justice. One person wrote on the Bureau of Prisons staff and retirees Facebook page, quote, as a retired BOP employee, this makes me sick. Since when are sex offenders allowed at the camp? Another wrote, I don't care who she snitched on, she is a damned human trafficker. In the private Facebook group, a member who identified themselves as a staffer at the Florida facility where Maxwell had been held said they weren't going to miss her, however, quote, glad to be rid of her. She is an absolute pain in the ass. But this is what they're pointing to here is sex offenders are not supposed to be, period, at all.
At federal prison camps.
In these federal prison camps where it's, listen, I'm sure being in prison sucks, even at the nice prison, but it's a much better deal. You can roam around the grounds. There's not the giant, the barbed wire fence is like a lower fence. It's also much less secure. So if she wants to get out or someone wants to get at her, she's much more vulnerable and exposed. There's a lot more programs available. There's a lot more sort of autonomy that's offered. Elizabeth Holmes is there. This is where, it's the type of place Martha Stewart would be sent to. White collar type of criminals, that's who's typically there. Sex offenders are not supposed to be there. So I think the other possible political fallout is if Trump continues to cater to Ghislaine Maxwell and cater to her desire to get out of any prison at all, there will be political fallout from that as well, because no one is buying that she's just exonerating him and there's nothing to see here. If he lets her out, if he gives her a pardon or the government drops their, opposition to her appeal at the Supreme Court and she is set free, everyone is going to conclude from that it's because she had the goods on him and he had to cut a deal to make sure that she stayed quiet. So, I think if they are deluding themselves to believe that this is over, this is quieted down, that they've handled it, it's not at the sort of existential fervor that it felt for a moment, but that can change on a dime like that.
Yep. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.